Hi, this is Praios and I'm a professional gambler, and today we will talk about cheats in online poker, or maybe this is just a Q&A session with a brief topic of cheating. I have no clue. Yeah, this is a Q&A with Fedor, and I will also answer the questions if they are interesting. And yeah, if you're watching this live, you are free to ask questions as well, and I will answer them if they are within reason. And before we get into that, consider to also go to my second channel, like, subscribe, and all this good stuff. I'm talking about finance, and my Twitter for this channel also is very active. If you are interested in finance and cryptocurrency, definitely consider to follow as well. So as this is all of the way, thank you to Pokercode for this video, and let's get into it.
What's up, guys? This is Fedor with another YouTube episode on a Q&A. I posted on Twitter and a lot of people have responded to what questions they would ask me. I think I got over 100 questions from different channels and I want to jump into some of them. I picked out some of my favorites and let's get into it. One of the first ones I saw was from Daniel Coaching on Instagram, and he asked, how much fun is it to be a coach and teach upcoming poker players? I want to tell a little story on how I got into coaching in poker in general. So I think
it depends how talented and how willing and how good the guy you are coaching is. I mean, it can be very frustrating, but it can also be very rewarding. I mean, ask a school teacher and you basically will probably get the same answer.
I think the first real coaching sessions I did was
another great benefit is if you coach and teach other people, you will also improve yourself. So that's not only a one-way thing.
Around 2014, but before that I did kind of like not really me coaching someone, but me working a lot with other players. So we were a lot on Skype calls and talking poker strategy all the time, and I was very active in poker training forums. So we were exchanging, we were posting about poker hands. So I had a lot of exposure to me giving advice to others and others giving me advice, and this was just a constant back and forth. So that was a very fundamental aspect of me becoming a better player. And in terms of
yeah, this was a huge thing back in the day, but after solvers are out and basically everyone can look up the correct answer for many sports, this is not as common anymore. Or maybe I just don't have the network anymore. I'm not sure about this. Comment if you, what do you think? Are you still talking with a group of people, learning together, or is it only you grinding the solvers?
Me coaching, I've probably coached hundreds of players at this point. I've done a variety of different courses and webinars, but also have done a lot of one-on-one coaching. And I have...
That's a lot. I don't have that much experience. I mean, I do these sessions regularly, but I guess these don't count. I only have like a few guys coached over the years.
Mistake people for a long time, and one thing I've realized is people make the same mistakes over and over again. So I repeated a lot of the same things. That was also one of the reasons.
It's very annoying if the same guy is doing the same mistakes all the time and you are like, I told you, and I told you 100 times. So this is very frustrating part of the job.
Reasons why we founded Pokercode, because we believe that a lot of the things people do wrong is recurring. So we want to share that, and we want to build this community where then these people can share what they have learned, and it just gets this really nice dynamic. I really enjoy coaching myself when I feel that the person I talk to is really curious, highly engaged, when there's just this nice energy of I can help that person getting better and going forward, and that is super awesome. So these were the coaching sessions I enjoyed the most. And I personally actually really love helping people at Pokercode because I feel there's such a nice positive vibe and people help each other.
And don't forget that you get paid for it. That's also a nice benefit. But yeah, I also believe him that he probably has fun doing it.
A lot. So yeah, I love coaching. I still do it regularly, and I have been doing it for almost 8 years now. So that answers the question. Okay, second question. It's from Yanislav on Instagram, and he asked, "What was your first poker bankroll when you started?" The first number that comes to mind is 0. I think I started with basically 0. I mean, the number must be somewhere between 0 and a couple €100. So what I started out was I started playing free rolls on PokerStars.
I started on a well-known site, which I don't want to name, which gives you $50 for free. Not sure if it's still the case, but probably yes. And yeah. And I think you also got a bonus. So yeah, I started with $50, almost went broke, was down to $5. And yeah, then grinded it up and never looked back.
Did get a $50, like there were these bonuses from, I think back then it was Poker Strategy. So when I created my account, I got a $50 bonus.
Okay, you said it too. Poker Strategy is also the one I started on, like many German guys.
Bonus. I lost those. I think I cashed in PaySafe cards a couple times for maybe a couple €100. I guess that I could call my poker starting bankroll. So I invested some money in the beginning. I was losing a little bit. Maybe total 1,000, 1,500, maybe €2,000.
The thing for me was when I would have lost the money, I probably would have quit it. And yeah, it was very fortunate that I started to run well with my last money, because otherwise I might never be in the situation and having this lifestyle I now got.
Over the stretch of 2 years. Always like a little bit here, a little bit there. That was the beginning. So I was probably a winning player on low stakes, a losing player on mid stakes. And that kind of like made me dabble, because I always tried to move up and get better and get to the next stakes. And then 1.5 to...
Also in the beginning, I basically moved up when I got the proper bankroll for the next limit. In these days, you also had like very aggressive bankroll management. Often you moved up with just 20 stakes for the next one and moved down if you lose as much, but you have only 20 stakes for the limit below. And yeah, I had one limit where I was struggling, which was NL 1K, where I had to try many times until I was able to finally play well. And yeah, I also was studying at first too, so I was only playing on weekends or maybe in the free time after exams. So yeah, not that much poker at the beginning, but yeah, I still was constantly improving, always checking videos, reading 2+2, learning from forums and stuff.
2 years in, I got into a staking deal, which put a lot of pressure on me, but also helped me get better. And then I think in that room, I progressed to...
I only was staking other guys, and most of the time these were very bad experiences. I mean, the problem with staking, if you give the guy the complete bankroll, is once they are down, they usually have no incentive to play the best they can, and they usually also don't stick to bankroll management and just go broke, and then you often always also don't sue them, even if you have a contract, because I mean, these motherfuckers have no money anyways, and it's not clear if this contract would stand in front of a court. So yeah, I think staking is often minus a V, and you should be very careful which guys you give money to.
Beat mid stakes and then be good enough to beat mid stakes consistently, and that was the path that propelled me forward. So I actually
I would stake Fedor for 20s, but yeah, he probably does not need stakers or has a lot of people in line before he would give action to me, and he's probably also wants markup, which I don't like.
Money that my father gave me for doing my driver's license. So up until today, I still do not have a driver's license. That was like the only money I had, basically. It was like €1,000, I think, that I used for living and for playing poker. So that was my starting bankroll, I would say. And yeah, it turned out, after a couple of years, it turned into a profit. So it didn't work out right away, but I put a lot of time into it, and then it turned out for the better. The third question from Fisherman FV. would you ever invest as much time in another poker variant as you did in No Limit Hold'em? The answer is no. This one is a really short answer because I think I invested maybe 15 to 20,000 hours in Hold'em at this.
It's very hard to say how much I invested, but back in the day I was more playing when studying, so I did not invested that much time in No Limit Hold'em. But yeah, No Limit Hold'em, I still won a lot of money, but at some point I resisted to PLO and studied this a lot more, and even with the new tools. And yeah, I was also trying to become one of the best, and I think at some point I also was one of the best, but now I still can compete in most lineups I'm playing in, but yeah, not the best player anymore for sure. But yeah, still the top 1% or even better. I mean, most people are losing, and I think I'm not, but it's hard to say as I'm not playing very active at the moment.
This point, and I cannot imagine ever spending that much time on poker in general, but also not in another variant. I think if it would be, then probably on PLO. I enjoy PLO, there are some good games running, but it's always...
Yeah. I'm also usually doing PLO stuff, so yeah, I mean, also there are two big games. I mean, No Limit Hold'em is many times bigger, and afterwards PLO, and then nothing else basically.
Is all kind of environmental as well. Like if there's crazy PLO games running and a great opportunity for a long period of time, I can definitely see myself getting excited about learning the game, but I don't really see that happening. So dabbling a couple hundred hours in different variants, yes. Ever investing as much time as I did in Hold'em, which was just an insane amount of time, certainly not. Another question from Hannes. Shout out to Hannes of Team Pokercode. Since achieving financial freedom, did you change your approach to reach happiness? I mean, that's a pretty broad question, or a big question. I would say one thing that changed a lot was not necessarily that my goals changed or my approach changed. The space I have in my mind changed. And that was actually really important, really fundamental. Is I think the big shift within, for me, it was going from having 2,000 euros in my bank account to having 20,000 euros in my bank account, was this idea that I didn't have to worry. So a lot of my mental energy was freed up. I didn't have to...
Yeah, I think that's true. So don't have to worry about money that much anymore once you achieve a certain point or have a decent amount of wealth. And yeah, for me, not that much changed.
To worry about paying rent, or at least I didn't, what I'm eating or when I fly where. And this was really, really nice because it didn't made me go crazy, but it kind of...
It's also nice that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you are free to use your time as you want. Although I still do a lot of the stuff I was doing before, so in essence, not that much change, but I could if I wanted to.
Lifted this constant, like, oh, do I have enough money to pay this? Can I do that? Like, I have to save there to then do that. It feels like this was 20-30% of my energy. So this being maybe 2% kind of freed up a lot of space for me to think about other things. Like, what can I learn? What am I excited about? How can I improve? And that really, really helped me. So a big focus that has shifted is more focus on relationships and deepening those relationships. So if I think about now what's different to back then, it's certainly deeper relationships, the relationship to my girlfriend, to my close friends, spending more time with myself as well on how I am, who I am, and how I'm feeling, and developing that. And that's definitely, I would say, the biggest shift over the years. This is a big topic. Can I talk openly about cheating going on currently, especially at high stakes? From MickGal70 on Instagram. Shout out to Mick. It's a huge topic. I mean, cheating in poker...
Definitely a huge topic. I also made many videos about this, and you have to be very careful to not get cheated. So many ways how people can fuck you over, so be very careful. And even if you are not cheating, you should know about all the things people could do in order to not get in their traps.
Generally is a pretty big topic because it's played for a lot of money, and I think it's very clear that there is stuff going on. And it's also clear that there needs to be done something. And I think a lot of people share that sentiment that cheating isn't great for.
I mean, if it's about a lot of money, the cheaters will come sooner or later. That's just how things work.
Online poker, and that I think it's becoming more and more visible, and more people are interested in universally doing something against it. The approach I think that we should take is just make the punishment harder. In chess, they showed a really great process or approach to that is they become technically really good at catching cheaters, which I think is the first aspect. And the second aspect is that then when you cheat, you get punished very hard. So
But how do you want to put this into practice?
I think the punishment for cheating in any type of game is for online accounts, they just get banned forever and for a long time. And for professional players is you get banned from basically every tournament for, I think, at least a couple of years.
But this does not help as much, especially if people play online, because they could make another account on a friend, on someone from his family, on his wife or girlfriend. So this is not helping as much, I think.
Poker, cheating will change a lot when punishment is harder and people, like when tracking gets better. And these are things that I'm actively advocating for. I think people, like there are some people who have been cheating, where people just don't talk about enough. So I think talking about it, making it more...
It's also always hard to say when cheating starts. I mean, some people think it's cheating when you use a HUD or hold'em manager. So where does cheating actually start? And even the poker sites are having different policies. So on many HUDs are not allowed, but even on the biggest site, or I'm not sure if PokerStars is still the biggest site or if GG Poker is now the biggest site, but on one HUDs are allowed, on the others are not. So how should we progress from there?
Present, bringing it to light. I think that's a big step. So sites getting better at actually catching cheaters. I know GG is doing a lot in that regard already. So Stars has also always been doing things in that regard. Just sites getting better at tracking cheaters. I think that's a big point. And then second, I think that would be a big shift is just cheaters being punished more by being banned from live events, like being banned from WSOP, being banned from EPTs, being banned.
But this will not help. I mean, let's hypothetical say that I would be a cheater. I'm not interested in playing any live tournaments. So I don't give a fuck if they ban me from live tournaments. I don't want them to play them, so that's not a punishment. So and many people are just want to play online, and they have a lot of ways to get around it with multi-accounting and making accounts on other people if they are banned themselves
from any major live event, and I think that will change the game significantly.
And this is also only about tourneys. I mean, poker is not just tournaments, and yeah, it's hard to ban someone from all cash games. I mean, these are not always in casinos. There are some like games that are not in a regulated environment, and there are also online games that are not in regulated environments on all these poker apps, and it's very hard to ban people. I mean, some of these things are even more or less anonymous, and yeah, money is changing hands over cryptocurrencies and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a huge unregulated market as well, and it would be very hard to punish people. And often even the organizers are cheaters in these things.
I hope towards the future. I think in general, it's not that bad that you can't play. So it's not like, oh, everyone is cheating. No, but there is enough people that are trying, and I think we need to improve that barrier of how hard it is. The craziest hand in my life by Egyptian god Zeus. Nice name on Instagram. I try to think about what the craziest hand in my life was. I actually think in terms of emotions and pressure, it might have been, like there's a couple ones that come to mind. And I'll start with one, which was, I think, the 7-8 of spades against Upeshka de Silva in the WSOP main. Because
I have a very hard time naming the sickest hand. Probably the one, although I don't remember what actually happened. The one where I was all in for my last money and won. So this was probably the most important one, although it was just for like $5 or something. And other than that, hand against full Galfond, where I lost ace-ace versus ace-king on NL 100k. Gila Liberté was also in the mix. Yeah, that's the other hand that comes to mind for me. It was like Phil opens, I 3-bet, he just calls. Flop comes king high with 3 hearts or something. And yeah, I don't have a heart, but I have aces and we get it in. Maybe I even 4-bet him. I'm not sure if I 3 or 4-bet him. Sorry. And yeah, anyways, he flopped like top pair and flush draw, and he gets there, and I lose a pot of 150k or something. And yeah, this was early in my career. I was taking a huge shot, and yeah, unfortunate, but it happens.
Because in real life, so it was the televised table, the TV table, and the hand went for like 17 minutes or something. It was a long hand. It was pre-flop, it took some time. On a flop, it took some time. On a turn, it took some time. And then on the river, he tanked for, I think, 11 minutes. Daniel Negreanu called the clock on the guy. It was a pretty absurd situation because at some point, it just got so absurd after 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. It was just, okay, how long is this guy just gonna sit there and do nothing? It must have been 10, 11, 12 minutes when he made a decision. So really, really absurd long time. And I was bluffing with bottom pair. So I was really hoping for him to fall, but the odds he got were also really great. So yeah, this was a massive hand for a really big pot in the main. And I think what was crazy about the hand was the long time I had to sit there. And yeah, that was definitely one of the most memorable ones. And then sometimes it's when I win the tournament and close a tournament with a hand. So I think 7-8 of clubs, or 7-8 of clubs against Dan Smith, I think, was also one that came to mind, where I turned a straight in the 100k and it just, boom, it's over. I win the tournament, 5 million, like bracelet. This was also really insane because there's so much relief, so much endorphins, like leaving the body. That was a really, really amazing moment. So I would say these were 2 hands that just came to mind that were really, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you are a poker player and not playing tournaments, you just grind daily, you just don't remember hands that much. I mean, at least I don't do, and I think most pros don't. But yeah, if you have these tournaments where it's for a lot of money and huge prize jumps, you still remember some hands if you play tournaments, I assume. I mean, I'm not a tournament player, so can't really judge on that. But yeah, it seems like it's at least the case for Fedor.
Amazing. Oh, this is a great question by Mark Zijan. Thoughts on going all in, risking bankruptcy to be a poker pro? I think the first thing I want to say regarding this, it's always on an individual level. There's not a universal answer. It's like, do it or don't do it. And everyone who says that is talking bullshit. There's no universal solution to becoming
good advice so far.
A poker pro or not becoming a poker pro. It's depending on so many factors, and all these factors are different in each individual situation. It depends on how much you actually love doing it, what the actual risk is for you, what other options you have, how old you are, like what you plan in the future. There's so many things that, depending on these factors, I would suggest it or not suggest it. I think in general, I would say if you're young, if you really are very excited about poker, and I would say in that regard, it's that you have spent a decent amount, like hundreds of hours on it already, and think that you want to spend another couple thousands of hours on it, then I think that's a reasonable idea. Like if you think that you want to do it full time, you can imagine doing it full time for at least a year or 2 or 3 years, then that's something where I'd say, okay, this needs to be the...
It's also always very important to consider opportunity costs. I mean, if you have great alternatives, you should think twice about it, but if you basically have no other alternatives or your job is shit anyways, then you could go more easy to become a poker pro.
Threshold before I would even consider it. I would say the baseline thinking is you don't really have many obligations that you need to consider. You really, really care about poker and improving at poker, and you are willing to put in the time, and with time I mean really full time, like doing it all out, like playing, studying, and investing the time, and you're willing to do that for at least a year, then I would say that's a reasonable setup to say, okay, go all in for poker. And the risk is not that high. Like that's something it's really oftentimes, let's say you're whatever.
I think it's very easy to say from his standpoint, but the risk is higher than he tells people, because if you fail after, let's say, 1 or 2 or even 3 years, you have a huge gap in your resume, and it would be hard to get another job that pays well later, because it's hard to explain to other people, oh, I was playing poker, and then they will be like, what the fuck, and choose the other candidate. So yeah, I think it's easy to say from his standpoint where he made millions, but yeah, if you should better not fail, I think.
23, when you're like, you're in the midst of your bachelor's degree and you're like, no, I don't like this. The risk is super low. It's, your financial risk is maybe a couple €1,000, so it's not.
If I remember correctly, Rob, you did not fail at poker. You failed at betting and keeping the degen in you under control.
You maybe pay rent, you eat food, like you maybe need a little bit of a poker bankroll. Like that's never going to be a problem in whatever you do after, right? If you now go like I was in the same spot. If you go minus 3K and you borrow it from your parents, or like you play poker for 1 year, you don't need more than 5K euros. Whatever you do afterwards, you can make back. If you ever choose to do something else, there will be an outcome where you will make that amount of money with something in the next few years. And the possibility to make that money is very high. I would say the key driver should be what obligations you have and how much you are into poker.
Now, you could also do 2 things at once. You could like study if you are still young. You could start studying something, and on the side do poker. I think that's reasonable and possible. And if poker turns out to be very profitable, you can quit your studies, and if poker does not go well, you could still come back to the studies and quit poker. So you are not fixing yourself to something and say, I'm a poker pro or I study. You have both options still. So this might be a good way too, especially if you are young and did not have your education finished at this point.
Because I would not suggest to do it if you're not really, really into poker. I would say you need to be really, really, really into poker. That's the only path when it makes sense. Because if you don't love it, you're not going to be great at it.
I think you cannot say that. Pretty sure jobs are bigger than poker since 2017. There are some people where poker is a lot better for them. And it also depends on the country you are living in. If you are in a very wealthy country, usually what you said is true. But if you are living in, let's say, in Eastern Europe, you might not be able to make a decent amount with a regular job, but you can make a lot with poker, even if you are just grinding like PLO 100 or something. This will be multiples what you make in a normal job. So you cannot say that that poker is worse. It also depends on the country and how big the living standard and the pay, the standard wages are. Yeah, that's true. You still need a bankroll, and it's also I think if I would recommend someone to start, you should probably start at least at 25 cents, 50 cents, because the rake below is so fucking high and it takes so much time to move up. So you need to earn some money in a different way, or get a loan or whatever. But don't start at like 1 cent, 2 cent or something. It takes so long to grind your way up to the higher stakes where it's profitable and when you can pay your living from that.
Not gonna reach that limit where you can make money with it, and then you're not gonna be very sustainably happy with it.
Yeah, in Germany, you should not consider to become poker pro ever. So you also have to look at the regulations, and you have to be willing to move to another country. I mean, Germany is terrible to play poker. So if you want to be a poker pro, don't do it from Germany. And I think there are some other countries also that are pretty fucked up in terms of poker, and you also would have to leave your country. So yeah, keep that in mind and check these regulatory environment as well before you make a decision that is that big and can influence your life forever, basically.
And have fun with it. That's my suggestion around going all in and going pro. Now, another question, are there any live tournaments you look forward to attending? From Milko, shout out to Milko. Yes.
Easy answer for me, no.
I'm actually really excited about Triton. Triton has planned some really nice high stakes poker series. And
Rob, are you going to play any live tournaments anytime soon? Probably also not.
They were planning to do something in Asia, and I was really excited to go there. This is something I was very much looking forward to. High stakes poker, 50K, 25K, 100K, 300K in some amazing venues. This I'm really excited for. I'm really excited for Aussie Millions. I'd love to go back to Melbourne. I am excited to play in the Aria again if there is a good high roller series there. These are also always nice to play. So there are a couple of series I'm looking for.
I think if I would be living in Las Vegas, I definitely would play some VSOP events, because the World Series of Poker probably is very fishy, but I never was there, but heard a lot of good stories about it, so that's probably something. Can't afford Trinity. Yeah, you could also, I think, starting at the 250Ks is a bit too much. Yeah, I also hate tourneys. I mean, if it's not in the city you are living in, you have to travel, and this also is huge expenses, and you also have to calculate that in when you think about something, if it's plus EV or not.
I'd also like to play another EPT. It's kind of like old school feelings. I always had great feelings about the EPT. Yeah, that's...
I can see it being profitable if there's like a huge event like the VSOP that's only in Las Vegas, and then you go there for like 2 months. I think it's probably profitable to stay there. You can also get your hotel room for free by grinding a bit in the local casino and stuff. So I think that this can be profitable, but yeah, often it's probably not. And poker players just lie to themselves, say it's so profitable, games are so fishy, but in reality, first, games are less fishy than they think. And yeah, second, the expenses on the side are way bigger than they take into account. And third, there's also, coming back to cheats, a huge I mean, not huge, but there's also a small probability that you will get cheated in some way. I mean, it could just be that you leave the casino with money and someone beats you up and takes the money, and nobody is factoring this in when going to a huge event.
Stuff I'm looking forward to, and let's see which series I can make. I had one here from Ismail Boyang. Shout out to Ismail, crusher of the game. He asked, do you live day by day or you have a daily, weekly routine? If so, what does it consist of? I would say it's somewhere in the middle. I do have somewhat of a daily routine, but also not really a daily routine. I work on
exactly the same for me.
Pokercode on a daily basis, and there I normally start between 9 and 10 and work on and off until like 6, 7, 8 p.m. And it's kind of more a modular schedule. So if I meet someone, then I move that in there. I have my weekly meetings, which are more fixed scheduled, but everything around that is kind of based on, am I traveling? Is my girlfriend here or not? Do I feel like it's also very much...
Yeah, for me it's the same. Basically, the lifestyle is very flexible and I can put things in, shift some things to a later date, but yeah, still got some stuff that I have to do. I also try to put up at least one video per week per channel, and I think I'm behind that schedule for my finance channel, but the videos for that are also requiring more research and usually cost me more time to make. And yeah, on the main poker channel, I often even do every 2 weeks a video, so that's taking some time. And yeah, also get into finance, look a lot into different cryptocurrencies. So this is a lot of work, and also do some sports. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff is fixed also with friends and family. I have some routines that I usually follow, but don't want to get too deep into that.
About my mental state, my mental energy. If I really feel like, oh, I need to work on this, I want to work on this, then I sometimes work much more on it. I really enjoy working on off times as well. So on the weekend, I love working on the company because I feel there's not so much new information coming in, and
I also think that weekends are not a cool concept. I mean, I usually work all 70 days a week, but often my the hours I spend on a day are shorter than for a regular 9 to 7 job. And yeah, if I very love something, or I get really into something, I often spend a lot of time getting good in it and learning stuff and things, like with cryptocurrency, poker, or things in general. High Lost Paradise.
can really focus on what's there. That's one part. So Pokercode is a pretty big block. And then it's kind of shifting blocks with my girlfriend. She lives in Berlin, so we try to see each other as much as we can. So when we see each other, I work a bit less. And when we don't see each other, I work more. So that's kind of shifting. And then traveling. So when I travel, I also work a bit less. And then I have some...
Actually, I made a lot of money back in the day from casinos and also by playing poker, and that's why I don't really have a job anymore. So the question was, what do you do for a living, prior? So yeah, like I'm sort of retired at 40, and yeah, still trying to do some things, build a YouTube channel, have some affiliate links that don't earn much, but at least a little bit. And yeah, also try to make nice or sensible investments so that the money, the wealth I built so far will be enough to cover for the rest of my life. And yeah, I'm confident that this will be the case. So yeah, I don't have to do anything that I don't want to anymore. So grind in a 9-to-5 job or some bullshit.
Other projects I'm working on, which is more also kind of fixed schedules where a couple hours a week I support them, advise them, some investments that I take care of. So it's like a good mix of different things. And it's always a bit changing depending on my environment. So shout out to Ismail. I hope you're well, man. Super good poker player. Shout out to Burko, someone super active in the Pudgy Penguins community. And he asked, how many tables is too many when multi-tabling online?
Yeah, that's easy to answer. It depends on you. I mean, for some people, 4 is too much, and others can handle 24. For me personally, it's like 9, which I can handle comfortably, and then it becomes messy.
And I think that is a question that a lot of people ask.
I'm also not sure if I can still handle that many tables because, yeah, I'm getting older and did not play that much lately.
And I want to go a bit deeper into multi-tabling online, tables, table counts, and focus. I think I can share a really quick tip.
I think it's also, you can probably play some more if you are a tournament player, because I think there's even more robotic things that you have to do and just push forward and stuff, not that money decisions that you actively have to make. Okay, that's probably true. It will be hard to find enough tables. I mean, you probably can find at the prime hour still enough tables. And you also have to mix in more than one side, like have like 4 or 5 sides at once and get a table on each or something. And yeah, I also know a lot of poker pros that don't play online anymore, but on all these shady apps.
On this because I have gone through lots of stages. I started out playing 20, 24, 28 tables of sit and goes. So 180-man sit and goes, 45-man sit and goes. And I was just like clicking buttons like that. That was stimulating to some degree, but also not very great for my development as a player. But there is something about doing this for certain amounts of time to just see where your limit is and see how strong your subconscious level of play is. So there's something about this. And then the older I got, the more mature I got as a player, the more I reduced my table count. So one thing that I would highly suggest is figure out your personal limit. There is a certain, so I kind of think of two ways. One where I feel like my mental capacity is reached, and one where I feel like, I call it like the timeout zone. There's a certain table count where I start timing out on tables because my...
Yeah, timeout zone is very bad. You should never come into the timeout zone. This is expensive and unnecessarily. But especially back in the day, it was often the case that you find more and more good tables and you couldn't choose which one to leave, and then sometimes went into a timeout zone.
I'm like a certain amount above my mental capacity. And then I would say generally it's 25% of that is where I'm kind of at my mental capacity, where I feel like I can make great decisions on a regular basis without being too overburdened. So for me, I would say where I'm timing out is somewhere between 12 and 15 tables. And so my sweet spot is somewhere 8 to 9 tables. That's where I feel like I can make great decisions on an ongoing basis with enough.
I mean, it can even become hard at 9 tables if you have a lot of hard decisions to make at a time. And sometimes it's still boring with 9 if you just have no tough decisions to make. So yeah, but it's these rush hour, so to speak, thing when you have many decisions at once. You don't want to make bad decisions then, and when that's why you cannot add too many tables. And you have to figure out your personal capacity. And if you are starting off, it will be very low. You probably have to start with 1 table, and then you can add more tables over time.
Enough time and I have enough focus to put it on specific situations. So when you're maybe not so familiar with super hardcore mass tabling, play somewhere between 4, 5, 6 tables. I think that's a good sweet spot. And then when you're maybe more familiar with mass tabling, then you can maybe up that to 9 to 12 tables. But I would not suggest to go.
I also never got into all these tools that help you multitabling. I think there are some tools that make life a lot easier for these massive multitablers, but I never got into that, so I cannot really comment on that.
Above 15 tables unless you know exactly what you're doing. So rather keep the table count lower. And if you just play for fun, kind of find your individualized spot where you feel like, 2 tables is exactly the type of action I'm looking for, or maybe 6 tables is that spot. Kind of just try it out, find your sweet spot. Yeah, I think it's all individual. I personally kind of like to be in this mode where I'm not timing out, so it's not too much, but I'm also challenged and constantly like on the hook. So for me, that's about 9 tabling. The last question that ties in really nicely with some content I want to create from Hodeldonk. What's up? Shout out to Weak Crow who posted the question. What's your best advice to handle downswings and just stay at your A game when things are going south? And I want to do a piece on this, expanding on this much more, because last year, 2021, I had financially one of my worst years, or my worst poker year. And I want to go more into detail around that and how that feels and how I deal with it. And generally, I would say keeping a positive attitude and focusing on the process are probably the most important things around that.
Yeah, also taking breaks, I would say, or drop down like 1 or 2 limits if you don't feel comfortable anymore. And also never go on monkey tilt or something. If you recognize that you are not playing good anymore and that you are not concentrated, but you are very mad, it's probably time to quit.
Because in the end, it's all about what you make of it. It's all about your perception. If you want to feel great, you will feel great. If you want to feel bad and feel bad about yourself, then that's what you will feel. And it's very difficult because it constantly will come up. You will constantly guilt trip yourself and like feel bad about yourself and victimize yourself, and getting out of that and having these constant loops of like, looping yourself back into a positive mindset is super important. So as a really super short tip, what I would suggest is the key thing in my life that has helped is having a variety of different things that make me happy. When there's just poker and poker's running bad, then everything is bad. But when there are different things, my relationship makes me happy, like doing.
And the best thing would be if you don't get any negative emotions and stuff if you no matter how bad poker runs or how good it runs, but it will not influence the rest of your life. But this is just theoretically possible because in reality everyone will get mad and feel bad and have bad days if it runs too bad. So you have to come up with strategies. This is also individual and different from person to person, but I already mentioned a few things that you can do, and he also did.
Sports makes me happy, traveling makes me happy, meeting my friends makes me happy, and poker and that challenge makes me happy. And then when it doesn't go well there, then there's other things that go well and make me happy. And so I think having this fortitude of different things and building up these things, I think is very important. And then the other aspect is drawing the energy from the right things. Like, don't draw your energy from your results. It will just make it a terrible path. Like, draw your energy from your personal result, like your growth.
You shouldn't be results oriented in any area of your life. Or I think that's true. Always, you should focus on making the right decision, but not in terms of the actual outcome, but in terms of the information you got at this point and maximizing your EV, so to speak. I mean, it could be financially, but also like emotionally and stuff. So it's not just for financial goals.
Growth is, hey, I got better. Like, I'm becoming a better player. This is fun. This is exciting, and constantly circle back onto that whenever it's like, it's a result, yes, but what other results are there? And then building these results as well is like focusing on that growth and that fun aspect of it. Because if you're not growing and if it's not fun, then maybe poker isn't for you. If you just do it to make money, it will be a miserable path to some degree. I highly, highly recommend.
I think you cannot say this because it's also a miserable part for many people to go to their 9-to-7 job day after day after day. So if that's the case, you have to choose between two bad things. I mean, is poker better or the horrible 9-to-7 job?
And to focus on the fun aspect, because then you can enjoy it most of the time. And I think that should be the goal within poker. So
I think it can also change. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing poker in the beginning, but it changed more into a grind and a job, and it wasn't that much fun anymore. And generally, I enjoy more than I can figure out things and learn how to play sports and stuff. So the theory always was more challenging and more fun to me than the actual sessions.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A session. If you have more questions, shoot them over on Twitter or Instagram. I'll try to get back to.
I think we are finished for today. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and also consider to follow me on my other channels, depending on where you watch. And it was fun. And I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Good luck at the tables. Bye-bye.